Hello, and welcome to this information literacy lesson on Padlet. Today's lesson objective will be on how to engage in lateral reading so that you can formulate questions that help you think critically about the information you read. You will know that you have learned it when you can search the credibility of online articles and identify true and false information. The American Association of School Librarians standard that this topic relates to is Learners A11. Learners display curiosity and initiative by formulating questions about a personal interest or a curricular topic. So students here today will formulate questions as they research online articles and begin to discern fact from fiction. This standard is important to developing lateral reading because with the ease of access and the copious amounts of information on the internet, students more than ever need to know how to decipher fact from fiction. This practice starts when students are provided strategies that tap into their own background knowledge and begin to question information, think critically about it, and use strategies such as lateral reading to build on their knowledge. The online resources on the Padlet are for you to first learn about lateral reading and what it is. Each resource is chronologically placed as a progression to understanding lateral reading. So in effect here, you are reading the websites, each of these websites vertically, top to bottom, to find out how to read and search information laterally. Your online resources start by first learning about fake news in this Common Sense Media article, and knowing how to distinguish between fact and fiction. It's extremely important to know the validity of your information, and this article is a good introduction into the world of fake news. The next few resources discuss what lateral reading is, which is the practice of opening new tabs. Let me give you an example. I go onto a new tab and verifying what you're reading through searches of other sources of that information or about that information. So how do you read laterally? There are 4 common steps. Check to see what has already been done on the topic, and that often means you jump into a new tab to check and see what the topic is being written about in other websites. Go upstream to the original source. So if you can actually find who the first person or first article is that originated with this topic. Read laterally, which is where you open new tabs in your browser and read laterally with what other people say about the source, about the publication, about the author. So you're Googling information on the topic to see what other sources are saying. And if you aren't able to find anything, circle back and start over with maybe new wording of your search to begin again to find more information. Lateral reading is important for you to know how to do because there is so much information, and even false information can be presented very professionally as to come across as appearing factual too. Here are a few resources that use lateral reading to sort fact from fiction. We have the Stanford History Education Group, looking at sorting fact from fiction online with lateral reading. And then we have fact checking with John Green's crash course. So don't believe a site just because it looks professional. What you see is not what you necessarily will get. Remember, when in doubt, open those tabs in your browser to do your own lateral searches. One thing to be aware of when you're selecting information is confirmation bias. This is when you only seek out information that confirms your own beliefs. So remember to think about your own biases as you search for information and pay attention to how you may be seeking information that confirms your own beliefs. So please read this article and take in the idea of confirmation bias as you research and take in news and information. How to fact check while reading laterally. John Green, as I mentioned before, in his crash course videos, and I have posted 2 of them, does a really great job on teaching about lateral reading and where to fact check your information. Right past confirmation bias, there are several fact-checking resources available here for you to get familiar with. Some places to look are PolitiFact, Checkology, Snopes, FactCheck, and Pointer. Also, Common Sense Media at the top of this resource list is also a good fact-checking website as well. The last few resources at the bottom, the npr.org and Factitious, done by Augmenta Studio, are a few resources for activities for you to practice lateral reading. They ask you to decipher between fact and fiction. They give you examples, and then of course you can do your lateral reading, opening new tabs and seeing if you can figure out the information from these examples, whether they're fact or whether they're fiction. So after you have explored these online resources and learned a little more about lateral reading, you can engage in the following discussion question posted over here on Padlet. How will using the information literacy skill of lateral reading help you contribute towards the building of a just and equitable society? So think about this question, and as you're perusing these resources, keep that in the back of your mind, and then once you've kind of got a good understanding of what lateral reading is and why it's important to laterally read, come back and answer this question. So, why is lateral reading an important real-life skill for you? Because with the anonymity and ease of posting information on the internet and on social media, anything conceivable can be posted online. And as you read and learn about fake news, you will discover that it often spreads faster than real information. This not only has the capacity to harm people, but it also threatens the very democracy of a society. If you are not aware of false information or how to check the credibility and information yourself, you make yourself vulnerable to propaganda, misinformation, and to the social constructions of narratives that have larger ramifications on the policies and laws that are put in place in society, and that both directly and indirectly affect you, your family, and your local communities. Consuming information starts with being aware of what the information is and where it is coming from. Next, being critical of information starts with being able to fact check. Fact checking is done by using the information literacy skill of lateral reading. Being able to leave the web page you are on and open other tabs in order to check who the author is, what other people are saying or writing about this author and their information, who might be funding or supporting this webpage helps you discern the validity and credibility of the information. And thus, lateral reading is a critical literacy tool that will protect you from being vulnerable to the dangers of false information and also support an engagement in lifelong learning. So I hope you have fun learning about lateral reading here. And if you have any questions, I am always available here to answer them. Thank you and happy lateral reading.